بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
I am very grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me this blessing to be with you and share with him this platform to talk and exchange about the way we are all inspired by Imam Sadiq a.s. As you are all aware, this is not a topic that we can do justice in one session or even many sessions. One of our scholars has written 60 volumes on Imam Sadiq. So we are just trying to, share a little bit fragrance of the great life of Imam Sadiq a.s. And I would like to share with you especially those aspects of his life that have been very much inspiring me. And in my involvement in Islamic studies and then in community affairs and interfaith, the more I experience, the more I learn, the more I appreciate what Imam Sadiq alayhi salam did. And it's not possible for me to think what we could be if we didn't have Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. I cannot imagine myself and my community and Islamic world without Imam Sadiq. I cannot imagine what would be the situation. So I try to share a few points that have been very much important for me. One is that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam lived very difficult time, because unfortunately after the demise of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we know, things little by little changed and then rapidly changed when we come to people who ruled in the name of the caliphate, but indeed they tried to keep the tradition of Umayyads with Muawiyah, Yazid and so on and so forth. Then things so much changed that even those who are not Shia, they don't call them Khulafa or Rashidun. They only choose this name for the first four caliphs. Means from Muawiyah onward, no one is happy to consider these as real representatives of Islam, because things very much went to the direction of kingdom. It was more like being a king than being a successor to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Islam unfortunately was not practiced as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught. Some of the Umayyads, when later they went to decline and they lost power, they have commented on the reasons why they lost power. And one of the things that they mention is that we had more interest in expansion of our territories and collecting more taxes from people than in the interest of Ummah and interest of people. In any case, things went so much to the wrong direction, and Islam was in need of revival. But some people thought this revival would be a political revival. People like Zayd ibn Ali, who was kind of uncle for Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he had this movement against Umayyads. Later, other people had these movements. Or some people even managed to bring a new group, Abbasis, to power, like Abu Muslim Khurasani. But Imam Sadiq a.s. had the idea that if people are not well informed and well formed, change of governments, change of regimes would not help. People should be prepared. You can replace Umayyads with Abbasids, but what is going to happen? Therefore, Imam didn't take a political route. Imam focused on first being in Medina, which is very important. This by itself needs lots of reflections. Why Imam stayed in Medina? Why he didn't go somewhere far from the capital, from the pressure of the caliphs, and being day and night monitored? He could go to somewhere near Caspian Sea. We had some Shiite powerful families. He could go to Khurasan. He could go away from the seat of the power. But he said, I don't want to do anything political. I don't want to change this regime of Umayyads, but I don't want to go away from the spiritual, intellectual hub of the Muslim world. I want to be close to the Prophet's masjid and grave and do my work here. This is very important. If you want to be influential, you shouldn't, go and, in a very remote place and hide yourself. If you want to communicate, you have to be in a place which is a hub. And this is why you see Imam alayhi salam managed to teach, according to the lowest estimations, 4,000 people. But some people say these are the people who were regularly and always with Imam. Otherwise, there were much, much more. And these 4,000 people who were regular students of Imam alayhi salam, they were not all, followers of the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, as also Tim also mentioned. Some of these were followers of other schools. Some of these people were people that were later, imams of other schools. And Imam alayhi salam treated them in the way that they had no problem in going and learning from him. This is also another point that you have to reflect. I sometimes say to our brothers and sisters in the seminary, I say, imagine if Imam Sadiq a.s, who was teaching these people, was using a sectarian language. For example, saying that now it is Fatimiyya and we want to, for example, say certain things or do certain things. Would these people kept going to him? Or was saying now it's Ashura, we want to do this, we want to do. So he had very delicate job of teaching pure Islam, reviving love for Ahlul Bayt, for Amirul Mu'mineen, who for many years was being cursed on Minbar. He had to revive all love for Ahlul Bayt, but by avoiding any sectarian language, anything that could stop him, and just presenting that he is Imam of Rafiza, he is Imam of this Shia sect. No. He was so careful that thousands of Sunni students, scholars, muhaddithin, fuqaha were very happy to attend his lectures. No one was shy, no one was hiding himself, no one was, covering his face and going to his lectures. Everyone was proud because he was recognized by everyone as the most knowledgeable Muslim scholar. Not just Shia scholar, not just a Shia leader. This is a challenge for every Shia person, especially those who are influential. I say, if you are only loved by our own community, that is not enough. A true Shia person is the one that he should be loved by Shia, by Sunni, by Christians, by Jews, by people of no faith, because they should see in you reflections of God the Almighty. They should see in you light. They should see in you character. Imam Sadiq a.s. was the one who was able to attract people because of his piety, his knowledge, his detachment from dunya. No one was thinking that he has hidden agenda. He wants, to do later something. He is just temporarily, tolerating us because he later wants to do something. No, people felt very safe about even their own, mazhab. They felt safe. They had no worry that if I go to Imam Sadiq, he's going to brainwash me. He was helping everyone to grow. He was helping everyone to find their way back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if they are Muslims, find their way to pure Islam. It's between them and God. It's their choice. Imam was not brainwashing anyone. He was not using, psychological techniques to manipulate their minds. He was very honest and open. Everyone knew his aqidah, but he was not forcing his aqidah. Even he was so tolerant that next to Kaaba, can you imagine a place more sacred than Masjidul Haram? Next to Kaaba there were atheists who were not just atheists, they were propagating their atheism. And they were talking against God to Muslims who are there for pilgrimage. Some Muslims were getting angry. Why in such a holy place, you are here. If you don't believe, you shouldn't come here. And the story of Mufazzal, who had discussion with these people, and he was getting angry. And they said, people like Ibn Abil Awja and others, whom do you follow? He said, I follow Ja'far ibn Mohamad Sadiq alayhi salam. He said, but he is not like you. He comes and listens to us. And the way he listens is that we think he has accepted our points. We cannot see any anger, any, conflict on his face. He listens so carefully and peacefully that we think he accepted. Then he starts talking and he brings counter arguments for every argument that we made. So if you are following him, he is not like you. And that then he went to Imam Sadiq a.s. Imam taught him what later is known as Tawheed Mufazzal. The whole hadith is about how to prove existence of God. So even in such a sacred place like Mecca, he has no hesitation to engage in a scholarly, academic, scientific, whatever you call it, discussion with atheists. In Medina, he has no hesitation to get engaged with people who belong to other schools of Islam. Something I was just reading recently was very interesting to me, that, Malik ibn Anas, the Imam of our Maliki, brothers and sisters, he is one of the people who has praised Imam Sadiq a.s. a lot. But what particularly drew my attention, that he says, whenever I visited him, he offered the rug, the mat that he was sitting on to me. Can you imagine? Imam Sadiq a.s. who is progeny of the Prophet, and is teacher of people like Malik, and knows that Malik, is going to become Imam of another mazhab, but he so much respects this person. If he was fighting them, if he was, shouting at them, cursing at them, do you think we would have inherited a better Muslim world? No. And what is amazing is that with this respectful behavior, with this unprecedented tolerance that he showed, if you come lower than ma'sumin and infallibles, you don't find such tolerance. At the same time, he managed to establish the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, so much so that we are all known as Ja'fari, and we are proud. And I hope one day we can be qualified to live by this name, that we are all Ja'fari. Means he didn't compromise. He gave our identity, he established our identity, but not by isolating Shia and fighting others, rather by welcoming and accommodating others. So this is what we have to learn, because some people think if you want to establish your community and your faith and your identity, you have to be harsh, you have to exclude others, you have to be always, fighting and arguing and debating so that you can, establish your identity. But this is not the model of Imam Sadiq a.s. The model of Imam Sadiq a.s. is that through love, through peace, respect, and a scholarly discussion with scholars who are interested, you can minimize the harm, you can minimize challenges and conflicts, and at the same time have formation for your community, education for your community, and grow your community. Especially today. I think this is the lesson that we have to take today. Today, we are not able to live in isolation. Even in the past, this was not possible, but maybe in some parts of the world it was possible. For example, there were maybe some cities or regions that 100% they were Shia, or 100% Hanafi or Maliki, or 100% Muslims or 100% Christians. But nowadays, we are not living in isolation, especially in the West, but even in the East. We've on a daily basis come across people from other faith or other religions, or people of no faith. Especially with internet and social media, we are always continuously in touch with people of different backgrounds. If you want to compromise and forget your faith, that is not acceptable. If you want to be harsh and imposing your faith, that is not also possible. What is the best way? I think the best way is the model of Imam Sadiq a.s. That you invest on education. Don't lose any opportunity for education. For 34 years, Imam Sadiq a.s. was teaching. All his imamah, he was teaching. He was going to Masjid al-Nabawi, they say, from morning till near Ghurub, he was teaching. He didn't lose any opportunity. We have, tens of thousands of hadiths from Imam Sadiq a.s. If he was not using his time in the best, way to teach, we didn't receive, so much of rich literature from him. Invest on education. Invest on training people. You know how he trained different experts in different fields. You know this famous story of a person from Sham who went to do debate with Imam Sadiq a.s. First he started with some questions about Arabic, then he had questions about fiqh and kalam, etc. And Imam at each point was referring him to one of his students. And he said, I want to debate with you. Imam said, if you manage to win them, you have won me. And every student of Imam was able to win the argument, because Imam was training them, he was giving them a specialized training. And then this person at the end, he was so impressed that he started to follow Imam. So, education is very important for us. Religious education is very important. To organize ourselves. Imam Sadiq a.s. either started or he was the one who developed the network of wukala, which continued in the time of Imam Kazim, Imam Riza alayhi salam, and played great role in the time of Ghaibah. Organizing the community, but at the same time reaching out. Being in the hub of the Muslim civilization, Muslim culture, in Medina, being in touch with the greatest scholars and jurists of the Muslim world, not hiding yourself, not just making yourself available for your own community only, making yourself available for everyone, helping everyone in their search for truth and for Islam and for akhlaq and spirituality, and then being able to train many people from different schools, at the same time being able to take your community many steps further in their spirituality, in their moral life especially. One of the things that you need to really study is those hadiths from Imam Sadiq a.s. when he describes his Shia. Who are Shi'atuna? You see, the way Imam Sadiq a.s. describes Shia is mostly, if not all, based on moral virtues and moral characteristics. He doesn't, say our Shia are the people that, for example, spend this many hours on ibadah, or this, give this much money, for example, as alms, etc. Those are important, but they are not the characteristics. The characteristics of the Shia are what? Are truthfulness, trustworthiness, being kind to each other, helping needy people. These are the characteristics. I would like to share with you two hadiths from Imam Sadiq a.s. and then I will end my talk. One hadith is the one that you might have heard or come across, at least part of it, because part of it is very famous, about how we should observe limits of people. Every person who has faith is in a special rank or degree, and you cannot expect from people who are in lower rank to behave like those who are in higher. You have to be very patient with people. Like, for example, if you teach in primary school, you know that these students have a special capacity. You cannot teach them, what is taught in universities. You have to observe their capacity. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Inna Allah wada'a al-Islam ala sab'ati ashum. Islam is made by Allah on 7 portions, 7 branches. Islam has 7 pillars. As-sabr. And if you look at these pillars, you see they are not necessarily Islamic in the sense that they are not Christian or they are not Jewish. They are Islamic in the sense that these are divine. Any faithful person can connect to. Patience, as-sabr. Was-sidq, truthfulness. Wal-yaqeen, certainty. Wal-ridha, to be pleased with God's decree. Wal-wafa, to be loyal. Loyalty is a very important quality. Wal-ilm, knowledge. Wal-hilm, forbearance. The difference between hilm and sabr is that hilm is to be in control of your emotions when you are wronged by someone else. So Imam says these are 5 branches, 5 pillars of Islam. Allah has given some people 1 of these, some people 2 of these, some people 3. Whoever has been given more should be patient with those who are in lower degree. And then he gives an example. You know the example. Ayatollah Mutahari also has this example in his book, about righteous people. That there was a person who had a neighbor who was not a Muslim. This neighbor was a very kind person. So he said, my neighbor is such a kind person, such a good person. I feel very bad if I don't help him, to find his way towards, God. So he talked to him, and finally this person managed to embrace Islam. So he told him, tomorrow we go together to masjid. So he took him to masjid, and he said, we go before masjid, for example, maybe for, being ready for salat on time, for Fajr. And then after they made their salat in masjid in Jama'ah, he said, let us wait here till sun rises, then we do some du'as. After that said, let us wait till midday, we learn something in masjid. Then he also said, let us fast today, we don't eat today and drink. Anyway, he took him back home in the night. He thought maybe he's doing a service, because this person is new to Islam, I have to now charge him a lot, quick charging, everything one day. The next day when he went to ask him to go to masjid, he said, sorry, I cannot cope with your religion, it demands too much. This religion is not something which is made for me. So Imam Sadiq says, look at this person, because he is not wise, and he overloaded someone who was not ready. This type of life is not even for ordinary Muslims, even ordinary Muslim cannot cope with this. So Imam says you have to be very careful. And then he says, this is very beautiful comparison he makes at the end. He says, Ama alimta anna imarata bani Ubayya kanat bis-sayf wal-asf wal-jawr. Bani Umayyad's governance was based on power of sword and force and zulm, injustice. Bani Umayyad kept people together with sword, not with convincing people and love. So their imara was based on sword and force and injustice. Wa inna imamatana, but our imama, for them imam uses imara. For imama is not imara. It's a divinely appointed leadership. Inna imamatana birrifq. Our imama is not bis-sayf, is birrifq, is with moderation. Wa ta'alluf, bringing hearts of people closer to each other. Wal waqar, to treat in a dignified way, treat people with respect, and also honor yourself. Wat taqiyya, our imama is based on taqiyya, means when people are not ready and sharing some of our ideas with them can create problem for our relations or for our life, etc., we don't share. If someone is not happy to know about my faith and is going, either to, get angry and create problem for himself or for me, why I should, share something that they are not prepared for? There are certain things which are confidential. وَحُسْنِ الْخِلْطَةِ. Khilta means mukhalata. Good mixing with people. We very much in the school of Ahlul Bayt and in all Abrahamic faith, we very much love people have fraternal relations. Tim said how much he was helped in difficult time when he received love of the Muslim community, Christian community. This is great part of faith, that we are available for each other, we show care to each other. In the imama of Imam Sadiq a.s, part of our faith is husnul khilta. Not only with your own fellow Shia brothers and sisters, or only with fellow Muslim brothers and sisters, with everyone. With your neighbors, with your colleagues at work, with your classmates. You don't need to choose everyone as your best friend, but you can still have very good respectful relation with others. Husnul khilta wal wara'. Piety. When it comes to your finance, you have to be pious. When it comes to your relations, everything with piety, observing Allah's will. Wal ijtihad, we have to be hard-working people. We cannot be lazy. If we want to follow Imam Sadiq, we cannot be lazy in any aspect of our life. We have to try to reach as much as possible success, especially when it comes to our moral, spiritual life. فَرَقِّبُوا النَّاسَ فِي دِينِكُمْ وَفِي مَا أَنْتُمْ فِيهِ. Imam Sadiq says, with your behavior, with your virtues, with your character, make people interested in religion. Because as we say, ad-deenu mu'amala. Many people are not, great seekers of knowledge like Salman Farsi or people we have that they have studied different religion, they have studied tens of books, discussed with many people, and finally they choose what's the best religion or the best faith. Many people don't have that much of patience. Many people can understand the truth through personal encounters with the people who have some access to the truth. If you have access to truth, if you have access to God, if you have access to divine revelations, you have to facilitate people's going towards God through your behavior, through your character, through your interactions with people. If you have received any light, let this light be reflected through your behavior to others, not through words only. As Imam Sadiq a.s. said, كونوا دعاة صامتين, or كونوا دعاة بغير ألسنتكم. Call people towards God, but without using your tongues. When you are silent, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't speak, we shouldn't write. No, it means that the main job is not done by words. The main job is done by actions, real actions, personal relations. We pray to God the Almighty to help us to follow these beautiful teachings and strategies of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and make life for ourselves and other people a life of moral virtues, and in particular, as we saw here, a life based on good temper, moderation, hard working, piety, and honesty and loyalty. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.